Session for the 31st Guam Youth Congress is hereby called to order. I call on Representative LeBang for the prayer.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We hope that you guide us today for our last session this term. We hope that you bless us and our families, and we also thank you for this successful term. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
I call on Representative DiCioso for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see?
Call on Representative Casilla for the Guam hymn.
Fanogi chamoru urita nota kanta matunoya gloria is
I call on Representative Quintanilla for the Inifresi.
Unifresi.
Thank you. You may be seated. Could I get first roll call?
Representative Blas, Representative Casilla, Representative Cruz, Representative Dichoso, Representative Felician, Representative Lebang, Representative Lorenzo, Representative Makepeace, Representative McDonald, Representative Quintanilla, Representative Richards, Representative Rigetti, Speaker Santos, Representative Tomagan, Representative Valencia. Mr. Speaker, there is a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to call for approval of the Legislative Journal. Representative Valencia, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But first, I would like to move that all members not present be excused.
There's a motion to excuse all members not present today. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive items 7 through 11 of the legislative session agenda.
There's been a motion to waive items 7 through 11. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Valencia. Moving on to item 12, introduction and first readings of bills and resolutions. Could I get an introduction and first reading of the agenda of the matters we need to discuss today?
Resolution number 19-31, introduced by Al Edrich C. Lebang, relative to recognizing, commending, and thanking all personnel that helped and guided Imina 31 Congresion Mohoben Guahan, the 31st Guam Youth Congress, throughout its successful 2-year term. Resolution number 21-31, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing, commending Mr. Alan Kakis as a recipient of the Excellent in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader in the arts and decolonization, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership. Resolution number 22-31, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Vicente Blas Tyron as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership. Resolution number 23-31, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Ron Rocky Coloma as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership.
Thank you. Moving on to item 13, which is motions. Are there any motions? Representative Valencia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a motion to move resolution number 21-31 on the second reading file, and to be afforded the opportunity to speak on the resolution.
There's been a motion to place resolution 21-31 on the second reading file. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Resolution number 21-31 is a resolution relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Alan Kakis as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. And for the information of the body, the following resolutions will be our resolutions awarding 3 individuals the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. And according to Guam law, the Guam Youth Congress has the authority on a quarterly basis to present the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. And so the criteria for this award is that individuals or recipients are residents of Guam under the age of 27 years old and over the age of 14 years old, and who have shown exceptional leadership qualities and who have made substantial contributions to the youth of Guam. And such a nominee must have resided in Guam for a period of 5 or more years. And so, upon recommendation of Representative Tristan Quintanilla, Mr. Alan Kakis's profile was submitted to the Guam Youth Congress and under consideration. And the purpose of this session today, or the purposes of this resolution, is for the Youth Congress to vote under a simple majority to award these individuals. And I would now like to yield the floor for the body to discuss this award, and maybe also yield the floor to the recommender, Representative Tristan Quintanilla. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Valencia. Is there anyone else who would wish to speak on the resolution? Representative Quintanilla, you are recognized.
Yes. As the person nominating Mr. Alan Kakis, I would like to just briefly summarize my reasoning for nominating him for the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. Mr. Alan Kakis has, as you can see in the resolution, many successes regarding his experience as a jewelry maker, specifically as a maker of shell jewelry. And I believe that him pursuing this art is a way of preserving the Chamorro culture. And the preservation of the Chamorro culture is in its own form a form of decolonization, as the devaluing of the Chamorro culture was one form in which our people were colonized. And by taking pride in our culture and by seeking to preserve it, he is in essence participating in the process of decolonization. And I feel that that is a worthy task and one deserving of recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Valencia. Is there anyone else who, thank you, Representative Quintanilla. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Resolution 21-31? Seeing as there are none, Representative Valencia, you can make your closing statements.
Thank you, Speaker Santos. I'd like to thank Representative Quintanilla for offering a few remarks on Mr. Kakis. And I'd just like to recognize Mr. Kakis for his contributions to the youth of Guam and to our Guam community, to our island community. And I urge all of our members here to award this individual the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. And so now, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to place resolution number 21-31 into the third reading file.
There's a motion to place resolution 21-31 in third reading file for voting. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, now I would like to make a motion to place resolution number 22-31 on the second reading file and be afforded the opportunity to speak on the resolution.
Are we all clear on the motion? Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes. Representative Valencia, you can make your opening statements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Resolution number 22-31 lays out the second individual to be awarded the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award upon simple majority vote by this body. His name is Mr. Vicente Blas Tyron, and he is a sophomore at Father Dueñas Memorial School, or is now at St. John's, I believe. So we might have to amend that. I was just told that this morning. Anyway, he was nominated by Mr. Ron Rocky Coloma, who provided information regarding Mr. Tyron's accomplishments and contributions to the community. Mr. Tyron has demonstrated exceptional leadership in various organizations such as the National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, National Forensics League, the Spanish Club, and has also been a volunteer at with the American Cancer Society and the International Coastal Cleanup. He was also a 2017 Safe School Ambassador and an altar server at St. Anthony Catholic Church in Tumuning. And he is also an after-school tutor for freshmen and is a member of the Charity Club and Campus Ministry at Father Dueñas. And according to Mr. Coloma, his recommender, working with Mr. Tyron, is a great experience, and Mr. Tyron's do-it-now attitude distinguishes him from others. And while serving various leadership roles and maintaining academic excellence, Mr. Tyron manages to overcome such struggles and constantly produces exceptional work and contributions for the youth of Guam. And so now I would like to yield the floor for any discussion regarding this resolution, relative to awarding Mr. Tyron the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Valencia. Is there anyone who would wish to make testimony or speak on the resolution? Representative Blas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Personally, I know Mr. Tyron for a number of years now, ever since St. Anthony Middle School and formerly at Father Duenas. Knowing him for that period of years, I see that he was a very, very passionate person. He's a very compassionate person for everyone, either in his school or in his island community. With that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to ensure that when we do award, or if we do award this to Mr. Tyron, that there's no mistakes. So I would just like to make a motion to amend line 3 and line 4 to be current or to be updated since he is now at St. John's. I'd just like to amend it to be Mr. Tyron is a junior at St. John's School instead of it being a sophomore since he's now a junior.
Can you specify the page and the line number of your amendment?
Oh, my apologies. It is page 2, line 3, and line 4.
There's been a motion to amend page 2, lines 3 and 4 of Resolution 22-31 to reflect that Mr. Tyron is now a junior at St. John's High School. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the motion? Anyone opposed to the motion? Seeing as there are none, the motion passes. Thank you, Representative Blas. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the resolution as a whole, now amended? Seeing as there are none, Representative Valencia, you can make your closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Representative Blas for his remarks regarding Mr. Tyron's contributions to the community. I would now like to make a motion to place resolution number 22-31 onto the third reading file, Mr. Speaker.
Is everyone clear on the motion? Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, the motion passes. Thank you, Representative Valencia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would now like to make a motion to place resolution number 23-31 onto the second reading file and be afforded the opportunity to speak on the resolution.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion's passed. Representative Valencia, you can make your opening statements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Resolution number 23-31 is a resolution awarding our third and final individual, Mr. Ron Rocky Coloma, as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award. Mr. Ron Rocky Coloma was nominated by Mr. Vincent Blas Tyron. Mr. Coloma, I believe, is a student at Father Duenas Memorial School. If I'm mistaken, please correct me. He has demonstrated exceptional leadership in various organizations such as the National Honor Society, the National Spanish Honor Society, the National Forensics League, the Academic Challenge Bowl Team, the Spanish Club at Father Duenas. He's also been a volunteer at the International Coastal Cleanup and has been a member of the Voices for God Choir at Santa Barbara Catholic Church in Dedido. Mr. Coloma also serves as a teen reporter for the Guam Daily Post. And in 2014, Mr. Coloma was the regional spelling bee champion and represented Guam and the Marianas at the National Spelling Bee competition back in 2014. Just this year, Mr. Coloma was the recipient of the Junior State of America Scholarship to the Stanford University Summer School Program. And according to Mr. Vicente Blas Tyron, his recommender, Mr. Coloma views his leadership beyond giving a speech at a podium or sitting in an office, and would rather get his hands dirty because he wants to make the world a better place. And with various leadership roles and while maintaining academic excellence, Mr. Coloma has exceeded expectations and has contributed exceptional work to the island of Guam and to the youth of Guam. And so now I would like to yield the floor for any discussion regarding this resolution, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
I'd like to call a quick 1-minute recess. Session is hereby called back to order. Thank you, Representative Valencia, for your opening statements. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Resolution 23-31? Representative Blas, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeing as Mr. Coloma is currently a student for Arduinias, on behalf of my school, I believe that Mr. Coloma is an exemplary student at our school, and he's a very good role model, not only for his classmates, but for as well as the other classmen. And working with him personally in the National Honor Society at our school, I believe that this award is more than deserved for him. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Blas. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the resolution? Seeing as there are none, Representative Valencia, you can make your closing statements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But before I do that, I would like to address an error in the resolution. I'd like to make a motion to amend page 2, lines 1 and 2, to strike out the words "in the arts" and decolonization.
Is everyone clear on the amendment? It is to strike out "in the arts" and decolonization. Is there anyone opposed to this amendment?
Page 2.
Page 2, yes.
Lines 1 and 2.
Is there anyone opposed to this amendment? Oh wait, are we striking on line? Are we striking "and" on line 2?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just line 1 then.
Okay. Is everyone clear on the amendment? Is there anyone opposed?
Okay.
So the amendment would read, line 1 would now read, award for his exceptional leadership and service, semicolon, and. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Anyone opposed to this amendment? Are we clear on the amendment? Seeing as there is no one opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would now like to make a motion to place resolution number 23-31 into the third reading file.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to, notwithstanding the House rules, I'd like to make a motion to place resolution number 22-31 from the third reading file back into the second reading file for amendments.
There's been a motion to place to bring back 22-31 to the second reading file for discussion for amendments. Is there anyone opposed to this? This is a notwithstanding House Rules motion. Seeing as there are none, Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to draw everyone's attention again to page 2 of resolution number 22-31, and on line 1 once more, to strike out the words "in the arts and decolonization." So that particular line will say, "award for his exceptional leadership and service," semicolon, and.
Just to be clear, we're making the same amendment that we made in 23-31. Is there anyone opposed to this amendment? Are we all on the same page on this amendment? Seeing as there is no objection, the motion hereby passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd now like to make a motion to place resolution number 22-31 back into the third reading file, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Seeing as there are none, motion passes. Thank you, Representative Valencia. We are still hearing any motions. Does anyone have a motion? Representative LeBang, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move to place Resolution 19-31 to second reading file.
Is there anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing as there are none, motion passes. Representative LeBang, you can make your opening statements.
Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, Resolution 19-31 is to recognize the people who have helped us this term. Those are Senator Michael St. Nicholas, Lawrence Cairo, Jermaine Alerta, Senator Regine Biscotti, Joaquin Taitagui, Joseph R. St. Augustine, Ms. Renee Meno, Clerk of the Legislature, Mr. Thomas Unsong, Sergeant at Arms, Ms. Mary Marvilla, Committee of Rules Director, Mr. Rudy Perez, and Mr. Ryan St. Nicholas, which is the audio and visual staff for the legislature. Those people have guided us through this term that is very successful. Without them in our backs, we will not be successful. For all of them, I thank you for sparing your time and effort to help and guide us. Mr. Speaker, I feel that a simple thank you is not enough to express my gratitude for them. Once again, I thank those people for their sacrifice and dedication for guiding us. And I also want to send them my thank you. Maraming salamat po, and see you as Maasi. And that's my opening statement.
Thank you, Representative LeBang. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this resolution? Representative Valencia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to add to Representative LeBang's sentiments. I think it has been, I think, a very productive term, and I think everybody here can agree. And that wouldn't be without the help of these individuals on this resolution, from the printing of our materials through live streaming our sessions and just affording us the guidance that we need regarding the Guam Youth Congress legislative process. But lastly, I also want to add Mr. Ibarra Hernandez. I'd like to make an amendment on page 1, line 17. So after Mr. Rudy Perez, I'd like to add comma Mr. Ibarra Hernandez. And he's the guy right there behind that window taking care of us right now with the live streaming. Thank you, Barry.
Is there anyone, I'm sorry, did you have more? Is there anyone, is everyone clear on the amendment? Is there anyone opposed to the amendment? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think this resolution is a great way to end this successful and productive term by thanking all those who have helped and guided us this term. And it goes without saying that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and without these people, our term would not have been successful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Valencia. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Resolution 19-31? Representative Casilla, you're recognized.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. So, I just like to express how today feels kind of like a graduation day uh, for all of us. It's been 2 years. It's been fun, and going along with the purpose of this resolution, it seeks to say how much how thankful we are of the people behind the scenes, and also I just want to make a point of how much support we've gotten from them. I know that nothing like the support they give says so much for them to give up their Saturdays. I don't know, a lot of people, especially when we're becoming adults, they're adults now, and for them to give up their Saturdays to wake up at 8 to come to come here just so that us youth can have a voice in the legislature, to be so we can speak our voice so that our ideas are not silenced. And so yeah, I just like to say thank you for that. That's it.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Casilla. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Resolution 19-31? Seeing as there are none, Representative LeBang, you can make your closing statements.
I want to thank all the representatives that testified with this resolution. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you as well and my colleagues for supporting this resolution, and I hope that everyone vote for this resolution. And this is our last session for this term, so that's all. I make a motion to move Resolution 19-31 to third reading file.
Thank you, Representative LeBang. Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Seeing as there are none, motion passes. And with that, we have exhausted our agenda for today. Moving on to the second roll call. Representative Valencia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a motion that second roll call reflect the first roll call.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Moving on to the consideration of the daily file. Could I get the third reading of the resolutions that we're hearing today?
Resolution number 19-31, as amended on the floor, introduced by Al Edrich C. LeBang, relative to recognizing, commending, and thanking all personnel that helped and guided Imina 31 na Congression Mohoben Guahan, the 31st Guam Youth Congress, throughout its successful 2-year term.
By show of hands, could I get a vote on Resolution 19-31? By unanimous vote, Resolution number 19-31 hereby passes.
Resolution number 21-31, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Alan Kakis as a recipient of the Excellent in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader in the arts and decolonization, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership.
By show of hands, vote on Resolution number 21-31. By unanimous vote, Resolution 21-31 hereby passes.
Resolution number 22-31, as amended on the floor, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Vicente Blas Tyron as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership.
By show of hands, Resolution 22-31. By unanimous vote, all members present, Resolution 22-31 hereby passes.
Resolution number 23-31, as amended on the floor, introduced by Christian F. Valencia, relative to recognizing and commending Mr. Ron Rocky Coloma as the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Leadership Award for his continued work as a young community leader, and to further congratulating him on his accomplishments in community service and leadership.
By show of hands, resolution number 23-31, all in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. By unanimous vote of all members present, resolution 23-31 hereby passes. And with that, we have exhausted our voting file. Moving on to brief extension of remarks, item 19. Is there anyone who wishes to talk about any of the matters we discussed today? Representative Lorenzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to take the time because this is our last session for this term. And although I'm going to probably see all of you next month or next week for our new term, I just kind of want to reflect on the progress that we made in the past 2 years. We have been to various 5Ks in the morning. We helped feed the homeless at Camlin Carry Dot. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys, and for the people who started the term together. I want to thank you all for believing in me, for voting me in as your legislative secretary. I hope that you do that for the next term also. I promise you that my work isn't done here, but it's amazing how much growth you could see in everyone, your colleagues from every month that you would have session, how they've grown as a writer, especially in writing in terms of legislation, and how we come together to have our opinions heard, and how there is sometimes an unbalance between our representatives, but at the end of the day, we may support the intent of the bill. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys, and thank you for believing in me to be your secretary, and thank you for a very productive 31st Guam Youth Congress term, and I will see you all in our next term together. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lorenzo. Is there anyone else who would like to discuss the matters we've discussed? Representative LeBan, you're recognized.
It's an essay. Okay, Mr. Speaker, my fellow representatives, colleagues, and friends. This term has been one that I will not forget. Together, we have made impact for our island. I am honored for being part of this body, and I hope that you all felt the same way. Serving for the Guam Youth Congress, as ironic it may be, is one that you should do with great pride and passion. This term, we have accomplished a lot from supporting the plastic bag ban to raising age to 21 for tobacco, and raising the compulsory age to attend school to 18. Above all, we have accomplished by representing our peers and constituents. Even though most of the time we disagree with one another, and our session ends up with a long debate, whatever decision we make is binding. Let me ask you all a question. Do you all know what is our strength here in Youth Congress? My answer is our strength is our differences. Difference in our views, difference in how we think, difference in our motives, and lastly, difference of our political parties and ideals. Difference is what makes us stronger. Though we may have differences, what makes us united? Watching the new season of Madam Secretary on Netflix, Season 5, Episode 1 was titled E Pluribus Unum. E Pluribus Unum is a Latin word that is translated to English, out of many, one. With that note, it reminded me of us here in Guam Youth Congress, where we all came from different backgrounds, different parents, and have differences. But what unites us or make us all one is our passion. Passion to make changes, passion to serve, passion to make an impact in our community, and passion for being the youth voice and representing our peers. Earlier, I stated in my remarks, my fellow representatives, colleagues, and friends, yes, I view every one of you as friends, even though we may disagree a lot. You're still my friend. My reason is that if you disagree with my view, you try to question my views and ideals, and it helped me to become a better person. You also helped me to see the other side, the one that has my biases. Madam Vice Speaker Keandra McDonald, thank you for helping me understand things that I do not see on the issue because of my biases. Though we disagree a lot, I hope that you consider me as your friend too, because there's always two sides in the story, but in this case, it's an issue. Moving on, for my friends and colleagues that would retire, I hope good luck to your future endeavors. I hope that you will be successful in life and that you will soar high and reach your goals. And those who will be on next term, I hope that you will all continue the success of this body and that differences are okay, but hate is something that you all should avoid. Differences is what make us stronger, but hate is what divides us all apart. Moreover, I hope that whoever will be in this 32nd Guam Youth Congress to be more active, be more passionate, and to put the youth above all. And let not hate, bane, dislike, or disgust fill you in, but to reach out instead of recoiling, and listen first instead of reacting. Speaker Santos, thank you for leading us this term, and I hope for your success and legacy to remain known. To everyone, it has been a pleasure and great honor to serve with all of you this term. I also want to further commend Senator Regine Bescodi and her staff, and it is also a pleasure working with all of you. In closing, I want to thank all the people that supported me to be part of this term, the people who believed in me, the people who elected me to this seat. My constituents, the student of JFK earlier this term, and the student of UOG. And lastly, for my family, and as what President John F. Kennedy said, ask what not your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Once again, it has been an honor and privilege to serve with all of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lebang, for that speech. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Representative McDonald, you are recognized.
I just want to say, Al, if we were a friend, if all they did was agree with each other, it would be pretty boring. So yes, I consider you one of my greatest friends. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Representative McDonald. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the matters we've discussed today? Any other brief extension of remarks? Representative Casilla, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So like what I said in my previous remarks on the resolution, this does feel like a graduation day. And so I'm kind of pressured to do a little graduation speech. I didn't write it ahead of time like Representative Lebang, but I made a brief outline, so I just like to talk about that. So for me, I served in the Guam Youth Congress for 2 terms. So that's been 4 years now. And I just like to say that it's been, I've had the pleasure of seeing how this body evolve. Going by what Representative Lebang said, difference is really a virtue of this body. It's how it functions, and I really agree with that. And as for what Representative Lebang said about how we disagree a lot, I'd actually like to testify in how, compared to the last term, this term was so much better. There was so many issues last term, and I'm very proud that this term, our term, was very productive compared to the last one. And it was because of the fact that we were different. We had different views, we had different opinions, but we also were respectful of each other's views. And I hope that going into the next term, which I hope in a few weeks, where I think all of you are going to be in, I hope that you guys still maintain that respect for each other's opinions. And so I just wanted to say thank you for the 4 years. I won't be continuing for the next term. I'll be graduating from the University of Guam hopefully next semester. And my plans are not really in the political science, but I will be planning to go into biomed engineering. And what I can say that I took from the 4 years of experience here in the Youth Congress is the value of data and facts. One of the most successful bills that I think that came out of this body was from Jay Vance's idea of the ban plastic bags. And that bill was supported by so many scientific findings. And so in my later career as a biomedical engineer, in terms of, for example, healthcare issues, I would make sure to produce legitimate and factual data so that people like you guys or the senators could use they could use it in a very knowledgeable way, and so it won't there won't be any shadiness or anything like that. And so yeah, thank you for the 4 years. I'd also like to say about for the next term which you guys will be leading, there will be new people, but I hope you guys guide them, give them the guidance that they need, and just continue on what you guys did for this term. And so Representative Labang ended with a quote, so I'll end with a quote too. So it's a quote by Representative Casilla. Speaker, can I call for a recess? And I guess that's just that quote means, because whenever I call for a recess, it's something that where I see something in a resolution or a bill which I'd like to improve, or if I see a little mistake. It's something. It's a lesson that I'd like to part with you, and maybe for the next representatives, is that if there's something that you don't like about the resolution or a bill, don't tear it down. Seek to improve it, and even if you have a difference in opinion, just express it. And that's how this body will move together as a team. And so I'm not going to call for a recess. I just like to thank everyone. That's it.
Thank you, Representative Casilla. Is there anyone else who has any remarks? Anyone want to discuss the agenda we've talked about today? Moving on to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements they would like to share? Representative Bloss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, I'd like to announce that next week, Friday, Father Duenas is hosting a scary movie night, so that is open to everyone here. It'll be in our mini theater on campus, and the 2 movies we'll be watching will be Insidious and The Ring. That'll be from 6 to 10. There's a raffle. Everyone's invited here to come, so please do. Secondly, I'd like to announce, or to say that it's just been so fast in regards to time. A whole year has passed since I was inaugurated into Congress, and at first, even before I was elected, there was some confusion at our school about what exactly was going on. And when I found out that there was an opening in position to represent my school in Youth Congress, I took the opportunity to strive to be elected. And I'd like to thank, once again, if they will be hearing this or listening to this right now, I'd like to thank all my classmates for voting me in. It has, and I hope will continue to be a learning experience for me, since next term I will be serving at least 1 year. I'd just like to announce that. And I'd like to thank everyone here for guiding me and just showing me like what we can do for our island's youth. So yes, thank you very much. And yes, please feel free to join us next week Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bloss. Is there anyone else who has any announcements? Seeing as there are none, I just wanted to once again thank everybody for a great term. I feel like this term was a really great learning experience, learning how to correct a lot of the problems that we had in as Casilla was saying, a lot of the issues that we were having in the previous term. And you know, this body grows and it changes every term, every year, every election, and ultimately I'm excited to see where we go next. So as we close this term and the next time the Guam Youth Congress reconvenes, we'll be opening a next term. I just want to say thank you everybody for all your contributions to Youth Congress, and hopefully the body as a whole continues on and being productive and goes even further than we did this term. And I wish you guys, whoever is not joining us and whoever is not continuing with us, the best of luck in whatever you pursue next in your careers and your lives. Seeing as there is no other announcements, can I get a motion to adjourn this session? Representative Valencia, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the final session of the 31st Guam Youth Congress.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing as there are none, the session for the 31st Guam Youth Congress is hereby adjourned.